Hello, welcome to episode 1 of Slowly Sailing. It's December 11th, 2023. It's been a few months since I last uploaded anything. I apologize for that, but I'm hoping to catch up this month. I've got some free time on my hands. I should note that it's been a challenge, aside from the challenge of finding a boat, buying the boat, moving the boat, starting work on the boat, documenting all that with the camera, a very, very cranky camera, GoPro Hero 7 Black. It thinks I just told it to do something. No, it didn't. I've had every problem with this camera imaginable. I got to get a new one. But first, of course, I had to get a new laptop because my laptop died. Editing, all that stuff, I'm doing it all by myself. And it's very, very difficult. A lot of YouTubers make it look easy, but it's not easy for me. So I can't guarantee a regular schedule of episodes, but I have a backlog of 3 or 4 episodes that should be coming down the pipe pretty soon. I hope there's some interest in the story of me and Nina, but I want to make it clear at this time that I am learning as I go. This is my first boat. This is my first refit. I know very little about everything that's going to be going on in this story. I'm going to be learning as I go. So if you're looking for expert advice or definitive methodology, don't look here. You might learn something as I learn. You'll be looking over my shoulder while I'm learning, but don't assume that anything I'm doing is the right way to do it. Please. I will try to read and respond to any constructive comments. Before this refit is over, I'm going to need to tap the experience and expertise of people who know a fair amount about this kind of boat and its rigging. What that means, you'll see in upcoming episodes. And I will be looking for crew eventually. Once the boat's back in the water, I intend to live aboard and go cruising by myself when possible sometime in the future. But for the immediate future, I'm going to need hands as I learn how to handle her. Anyway, feel free to like, share, subscribe, comment. I am going to try my best to pay for all of this myself, but if you want to make a contribution, I'm not going to try to stop you. I don't know if I'll have it set up for this upload, but eventually there'll be links to make contributions via PayPal or Patreon or what have you. I haven't figured all that stuff out yet. I know I can do it myself. It's kind of part of the mission is to do it all myself. But like I said, if you got more than you need and you're feeling generous and you like what I'm doing and you want to help out, I'm not going to stop you. Even more valuable to me would be the time and expertise of people who have constructive advice. Not, you're an idiot, get rid of that boat, or I could have told you how to do it better, but people who have constructive advice. Anyway, enough of my babbling. I just wanted to show my face and account for myself before this whole thing starts. So sit back and enjoy episode 1 of Slowly Sailing. This is Nina, a cutter-rigged Tahiti, designed in 1923 by John G. Hanna, but built at a boatyard in North Carolina around 1978. She's all wood, with all-cordage rigging. A lot of old-timey features. This boat's been through a lot of different iterations. This latest one was a bit much on the pirate ship side. I want to set her up for simpler sailing, single-handed eventually, so some things will have to be simplified. The ground tackle setup is not great. It's too far from the rollers. Impossible, really, for one person to handle. I'm not crazy about the CQRs either, but we'll deal with that later. I'm sorry this isn't a definitive tour. I was shooting kind of sporadically. Another problem is these cowl vents that don't have durade boxes. They can let water right into the cabin. I'll probably have to build durade boxes. The hatch needs some love, but it's a great thing. It's raised up from the deck, which gives you some headroom in the head. Very, very nice feature, but it needs work. At one time, Nina had a kerosene cabin heater. Its chimney came through the deck right here. I want to have a cabin heater, but I'm probably going to go with a solid fuel burner of some kind. You can see the fife rail here. And the deck's in great shape. Overall, the boat's in good condition. The decks are teak over plywood. No serious problems that I could see. Lots of side deck space because of the narrow housetop. The mast and other spars are made out of Sitka spruce. They seem to be in great condition, but I haven't gone up there yet. There's even a running topmast. Initially, I thought I'd get rid of that, but I'm thinking now I might keep it. The mainsail had been in place on the boom with an old cover on it for years. I had to take that off and spend some time cleaning a bunch of black mold off these spars, but they're hanging in there. They're going to need to be revarnished pretty soon, but they're okay. The cradle looks good. The tiller was half rotten, but the most urgent thing right now, before it rains again, I have to deal with this rotten plywood. I tried to take a look under the water with the GoPro. It didn't go too well. I can see there's a lot of missing paint on the hull, but I couldn't really see much of anything. I even tried diving on the boat. To get close enough to see, I would risk scraping myself on barnacles, so I gave up on that. But the rudder cheeks look good. All that looks good. The tiller is half rotten. It'll have to be replaced. The hinges look okay. Pardon my hand. These chains, though, they don't really do anything. They've just been doing more harm than good, chafing. Here we get a better look of the massive growth on the bottom of this boat. She's been sitting on this seawall for at least 10 years. The boat came with a lot of extras in good condition. More on what these are and how they work later. There's also quite a collection of barely used blocks, which will come in handy, and a nice swim ladder. She also came with a full set of tan bark sails, made a very long time ago, I'm sure, by a company called Yardarm Sailmakers outside of Boston, Massachusetts. The main was still on the boat when I shot this, but as you can see, I've got a lot of foresails here. I believe one of these is even a gaff topsail or top main. They're definitely old, but barely used, probably stretched out a little bit, but I think they'll be fine for the beginning. Nina was obviously going to need to be hauled out. She'd been sitting too long in the water. Once I found a place, I had to start making preparations to get her going again. It was hotter than hell inside the boat on this day in July. I was schwitzing like a pig at a luau. But I had to first take a look at the batteries and address some pretty funky wiring issues. Didn't take much. The batteries themselves are in decent shape. They're AGM types, maybe 11 years old. I got them looking better. Should be safe for a few hours of motoring. The engine room, well, definitely better. Very little corrosion, but nothing was labeled. And it's all very 70s. Lots of glass fuses and such. But overall, not too bad. I managed to figure it out. Had to get rid of this light, though. That thing got hot as hell. I found some cheap LED lights that do a much better job of giving some even illumination in here. It's not very bright, but it'll do for now. At least I'm not going to burn myself on these like I almost did on that terrible truck bed light or whatever it was. Nina has beautiful furniture for covering up the engine. But after a couple of repetitions of removing them and then putting them back, I realized the smart thing to do is just get them off the boat until the refit's over. They're beautiful, but they're heavy and bulky. And when you move them out of the way, they're in the way. There's not a lot of cabin space inside this boat. But I am very happy with this furniture. It's all in good condition and well made. The ladder, too. The ladder is very nicely made and in great condition. Once upon a time, Nina had these canvas pouches that were held in place with toggles that were screwed into the bulkhead and the sides of the boat. Kind of handy, I guess, but they're gone forever, apparently. This is an old picture, and I don't think I really want that. So I indulged in one of the easier tasks I'll probably ever do on this boat, where I could lie down, and I removed all of them. I'm going to save them, just in case. Nina has a few very nice port lights in the deck. This one was letting in water when it rained, and I could see someone tried to fix that by slathering it with silicone, but I don't think it was getting around the glass. So I had to carefully break the seal and pull it out to see if it needed to be rebedded. It did. There was almost nothing between it and the deck. There's a scratch in the glass. I might have to have a rule about diamond rings on deck. Weird. There's still quite a bit of the original teak left. There was 3/4 of an inch. It's a little shy now, with 1/2 inch of marine plywood underneath and glue in between. It's all screwed to the frames. Pretty good. When it rains, there are other leaks. I found this one in the hatch, the companionway hatch. I think it has something to do with where the handle is bedded. It's not bad unless it's really coming down. So I'm going to worry about that later. On that same rainy night, I found water coming in over the stove, which seemed kind of strange. Turned out it was just this mushroom vent, which is actually threaded. So when there's water coming down or water coming over the deck, you have to have it screwed down tight. Once I did that, it was fine. That was an easy fix. But there are more trouble spots. This one has something to do with this swim ladder attach point. I can figure that out later. And there's definitely a little rainwater getting in around the mast. The boot is made out of canvas, rubberized, I guess. There's 2 layers. Rather than redo it right now, I just kind of added some tape and some sealant around the base of it, which helped a little bit. The hatch, of course, leaks like crazy. Throwing a tarp over it is a good temporary solution, but I'll get her fixed up. Aside from creating standing headroom in the head, this hatch is superb for ventilating the boat, and it lets in plenty of light as well. It looked like initially my rebedding of that fitting did the job. No more water coming in. Success. I've given some consideration to sealing the raw edge here because the bronze doesn't come down to cover the cut edge of the deck. But I'm not sure if it would be wise to do that or let it breathe. Anyway, water isn't going to get in there, and it doesn't seem to be traveling to this opening from other parts of the deck, which is really good. Here we see behind that area of rotten plywood in the cockpit. I can still see some water getting in there. That's pretty bad, but it should be relatively simple to fix. I found a little more rot here on the edge of the cabin top. It turned out that the sealant between the deck and the outer bulkhead of the cabin top was compromised. Another super hot day, undogging the boat so I can breathe. I love these port lights. They let in a lot of air and light. They are a bit fussy to deal with, though. Old school. this particular day saw me putting in a second electric bilge pump with the float switch a little higher than the other one. The idea being that if the primary fails, the second one will kick in once the water gets high enough. There was already plumbing and a through hull for a second pump, which was great. I've also got 2 manual bilge pumps, one in the footwell of the cockpit, the other one on the starboard side of the engine room, kind of behind that jerry can by my head. No matter what happens on the passage, I don't think we're going to sink. Speaking of sinks, I tried to do something under here. Wasn't really necessary, but I just wanted to do it. Used to be a pressure tank for the stove. It burned paraffin, and there was a pump mounted on the countertop here. The tank is long gone. The plumbing for it is long gone. The stove was converted to propane some time ago, but I think I'm going to get rid of the propane as well. This isn't a real propane locker. It's a bomb, actually. Potentially. I want to go electric, I think. So another known issue when I bought Nina was that her 3 diesel fuel tanks, which are tucked underneath the cockpit footwell, were contaminated. You can see the jerry can on the left that was used to motor sail this boat all the way from North Carolina by her previous owner. I will probably have to remove them, maybe replace them. I think they're aluminum. At this point, when I shot this, I wasn't sure. I was trying to find out and also trying to get an idea of their dimensions. There's no way in from the top without removing the footwell, which is going to be a demolition job. So I was trying to see if it was possible to get them out into the cabin, hopefully without removing the engine. This was not fun, as you can see. The beer belly isn't helping. I'm working on getting rid of that. I'm going to have to. They call this boat yoga. It's a bit of dark humor. There's nothing healthy or beneficial about these contortions. Boat yoga, namaste.